Okay, so I've got these walls set up that I want to have now with the right sized hatch pattern. So I've got here a wall that you can see already has that face brickwork aside, and now I want to put in the right size brick. So I'm just going to use the measuring tool just so you can see the size that they are now, which is not correct. So that's 75 mil by whatever it is, 225. That's not right. So I want it to be done according to our brick coursing chart, where it tells us the size of a brick, of course, which is 230 standard brick, 230 by 110 by 76. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, no, it's an Australian thing. Yeah, that's right, exactly. Yep. So bricks around the world, they do have slightly different sizes, and in many countries they have many different sizes. But Australia was one of the first countries to standardise brick sizes. I think we were the first actually, and lots of things with masonry construction. Australia was a big innovator because I think largely because Sydney has really good clay resources, but also the weather made them want to make cavity brick walls for the weather protection as well. So yeah, so it's been this way for well over 100 years. You see, like Federation, all those buildings generally use standard bricks as well, which is great. So yeah, so again, it's 230 by 110 by 76, and then we've got to add 10 mil mortar to the 76 mil for our heights, which gives us 86, of course, and that's what will go off for the coursing, and that's mostly what we're looking at. So back into Revit, select the wall, edit type, and I'm not going to duplicate the wall because I don't want to make a new wall type. I just want to change the pattern of this wall. And I'll edit that, and then we've got this material to DA brick internal, and so I'll go and change that, and I will duplicate it because I'm going to make my own brick material. So I'm just going to call it CC brick. In fact, I'll make it really clear, CC standard brick. And then I'll leave the appearance for now. That's obviously not a standard brick there in the on the appearance tab, and we can definitely switch it over for one, but I'll just leave it at that for now. That's kind of a combination of Flemish bond or something like that. Non-uniform running is what they're calling it. Yeah, it's a mix of stretcher and it's not solder. It's the ones at the end. Yeah, it's not a stretcher bond. So the main thing though is on the graphics tab, I'm going to change the surface pattern, and this is where we're going to get the accurate size. So just clicking there on the pattern, and then I'm going to go to make a new pattern, and go to custom, and then browse, and then I'll go to the P drive and to the folder where I've made my file. So like I said, I put a copy of it there, but I'll just show you where it is in the library. Go to Revit Library, choose Revit Library, and then X Hatch Patterns, and then again I've just called it CC Brick Stretcher 86. So that tells you it's 86 mil high, and the width is right as well. And so that's going to work perfectly. So I'll just click OK. And, oh yeah, now look, because I've done this before, it already has that name, so I'll just say 86A. But you won't need to do that. And that's it, so I'll click OK. And now I've got my surface pattern assigned. So that's the first step, but then I need to make sure it's starting in the right place. So here, because that's the bottom of my wall, that's already lining up properly, but in this situation here, where you've got a wall, well that one actually has been fixed, but I'll just show you how it used to be. Oops. So it was something like that before. Okay, so it's important to realise that the hatch patterns are a separate object in Revit that you can select. So you won't get them just by clicking, but using tab, you can highlight any of those lines in a pattern, and then you can use the arrow keys to nudge them up, down, left and right. And then you can also use the align tool and pick any other edge. So I'll choose this level and then choose one of the lines in your pattern to line it up that way. So yeah, so that's got the bottom assigned, and now I can use this edge of my wall and choose the end brick there, and that's really important that you don't have little bits of brick at the end of those walls. So that's basically it. So it'll give you enough to be able to assign that hatch pattern. But I'll just give you a basic idea how you can then work with your own. And so here you've got a bunch of PAT files, is what they're called. So the PAT extension on the file. So you can basically have any text file. I'll just open up another one. And then just save them as .pat to make them work as a hatch pattern. And so you can get any AutoCAD pat file, and you'll find there's a much bigger resource of AutoCAD hatch patterns than there are Revit hatch patterns. Because anyone who knows Revit well, they know that you can just use the AutoCAD pattern, so you don't need, most people don't need to make them with Revit. They just use all the millions that you already have that are done for AutoCAD. And there are millions. I'm not joking. If you still search for AutoCAD hatch patterns, you'll just find so many results that you'll just have to spend time choosing which ones you want. So, so though you can see there's a lot of numbers, so they can be a bit tricky to work with. I'm not going to go into too much detail what these all mean, but I'll give you a basic idea. The number there at the beginning is a vector, so it's a direction, it's an angle. That's 0, that 0 means 0 degrees. So going down here, notice how they've got 90, so that's obviously 90 degrees. The second value there is a coordinate, so that means start at 0, 0 at 0 degrees, and then go to 0, 1000, so that will give you a vertical line, and then go to this next coordinate, which is obviously 70, minus 250. So, so each of these entries is a line, essentially, that it draws. And so that's a relatively complex one, but if you have a look at things like wood grain, they can get really complicated. Just so you should have, there's the Revit one. So we should have, well, it's got a couple of good things. This is, sorry, if you missed it, this is the Revit pat file that comes with the program. And if you have a look at it, it also tells you at the beginning how to make it work with Revit, how to make a pat file work, and it's essentially just a matter of setting it up for either drafting or model. And they tell you you've got to put these comments in at the beginning. Now I've tested it out, it works without them. And it should, because if you know anything about programming or just even scripting, these semicolons, they mean comment. If you ever worked with any program files or anything, or anything with a script, you'll often see virtually every language, they have some sort of symbol that denotes that it's a comment that's meant to be ignored by the thing that's going to run the program. Yeah, exactly, that's it. So all of these things at the beginning are just explanation, and then it starts further down. This is where it's got the actual patterns. So these are pretty basic ones, aluminium and so on. You can see they're fairly simple, just a couple of lines. But then when you go down to the wood grain, you can see it gets a bit more crazy. There's a wood pattern. Now, I don't know how any human could make that. In the past, people did, but they were masochists back then. But nowadays, there are programs that do it. I don't know how to use them. There are apparently though programs that will generate all these numbers from lines you can draw. It's not really necessary though, because you'll find everything you need just by searching. You can find any hatch pattern you want if you have a good look. It does help to have a basic idea how it all works, but again, you can generally just find other people's and use them. And like I was saying, AutoCAD has a massive resource of hatch patterns, and then you can easily just make them work in AutoCAD as long as you set them up for either drafting or model. So the main consideration there is not so much having this comment, I think it doesn't hurt to have that so you know what you're setting it up for. And you definitely need to have the name there at the beginning next to the asterisk. That's the most important thing. But then when you use them in Revit, what I'll do is just make a region just so I can make a pattern for it. Okay, so of course every pattern that you make in AutoCAD, in Revit, has the option of it being either drafting or model. So do you know really what the difference between those two options is? It's all to do with scale. Right, so essentially model patterns are real world scale, so they're the size of what you're trying to draw. So here, I can tell just by looking at that, that's a drafting pattern because of the sizes there. They're not real world values, right? So that's not a size in millimeters. This is a metric file, by the way, so they need to be, they should be recognisable millimeters. So if we look at one that is millimeters, you can see here, this is it says it's a model pattern. What is that one I went to? Yeah, so it says drafting. I didn't even need to look at it, but yeah, it's obviously drafting. But if we go back to one that's model, here we go, there's another model one. So it's wood shakes, it's a model pattern. And the values there, even though they're quite small, they're millimeters. If we go and have a look at one that's maybe a bit clearer, like concrete block or something, here we are, or there's a brick. There's the American brick, which we might ignore because that's not going to work for us. Well, block. So this is where it gets a bit confusing because even though it's a metric, it should be a metric file, or some of these things should be set up for metric, they've still got some imperial things in there. So it says block 8 by 16. So that's 8 inches by 16 inches. So that number there, that means 8 inches. If you're wondering why there's no 16 there, it's because you draw it at the centre, because it's a tile, it's a repeated pattern. So if we find one, there should be a more obvious model pattern. Let's get down. Or maybe just close this one. Let's have a look at one of Max's. So here, these are clearly set up for a size we'll recognise. Q500 siding is the size, and so there are the measurements. And the other measurements are just for the set out from those lines. But again, you can tell because of those values that it's a model pattern without looking at the type. Whereas a drafting pattern, let's go back to this one. So a drafting pattern doesn't really have a scale. So that means no matter what scale your drawing is, it's going to be the same size. And so this is a good example of a drafting pattern, this earth pattern. So notice how the numbers are all fractions of a millimetre. And that's usually the easiest way to tell. If you get it set up in AutoCAD, or it's just an AutoCAD hatch pattern, and you've got to make it work in Revit, you need to decide whether you kind of set up as drafting or model, and then you might need to just adjust the measurements accordingly. So I'll show you to finish off the one Max did, which didn't actually work, but I did another one that does work. So here we go, this is Max's one, which should have worked. I couldn't work out why this one didn't work. Everything in there seemed okay, but I didn't really like it anyway, because it's got the right size, kind of. He's got the 230 by 76, but then he's drawn the mortar. So each brick is separated by the 10 mil. And I don't think you need that. I think you can just draw them at 86 and we assume the mortar's there. So this one though, apart from that, it should have worked. I don't know why it didn't. But I'm kind of glad in a way that it didn't, because then it forced me to make my own. And so that's my one, which is much simpler, but it works. And so notice how, I don't know why Max's also didn't go to the centre line, because this here, that 120, that's half of 240. So that's why it's that value, and then the rest you can see 86. So it goes, if you want to see how it works, 0 degrees, starting at 0, 0, up to 0, 86, so that gives you a vertical line, and then this is the line across 90 degrees. From there, again 0, 0, and then starting at the top and going across 120, and then that just gets repeated. So yeah, it can be fairly simple. And so once you know all of that, let's just put that pattern in. So here, it's not going to be my list for drafting patterns because it's a model, so I'm going to go to model pattern at the top, and where'd it go? There it is. Either of those are both the same. And then that should be going in. Maybe I've got to finish it. Oh yeah, just have to finish it. So there we are. So it doesn't matter what it's in, it should be the same size, whether it's a filled region or a wall. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So if you then just go searching for, like I said, I mean, you can search for Revit hatch patterns if you want to, and I've never done that, so I'm just going to try it out. No, you're probably not going to find much, because again, people who do this all the time know that you can use AutoCAD patterns, and it's much easier to search for those. So here we are. So we've got, well, it tells you a few things, but let's see if there's any sites that come up. Revit City, I'm sure, will have some things. But then notice how now all this other stuff that comes out is actually AutoCAD, CAD Hatch, and all these other places. So if you just instead search for AutoCAD, oh, only 500,000 results. I've done this search before and had a million or two, but yeah. So you've got these sites like CAD Hatch, which basically just give you hundreds and hundreds, completely free. But you do need to modify them to get them working in Revit, but it's fairly easy. And that's one of the big limitations. So I was talking to an architect who I'm working with just recently, and he seemed to think that there were things that he just couldn't do with Revit, and he kept saying, "Oh, I can only get it to a certain point, and then I've got to take it back to AutoCAD to do all this drawing." I was like, "You just got to get your hatch patterns to work in Revit, and then everything else that you can do in AutoCAD, you can do with detail lines in Revit, and you won't need to go back to AutoCAD." And he was even like printing stuff out and drawing over it because he couldn't get the lines and the hatch patterns that he wanted in Revit. Again, it's just a matter of getting the pat files set up properly. So, yep, that's pretty much it. And so, yeah, I'll just show you though with the window sills. So even with situations like this, see how the brick now lines up. So I mean, I'll still need to bring this up slightly, but again, you want to have the whole bricks wherever you can. And this, so that wall, you can start to now look at this wall, and maybe the top of that needs to come down to there, things like that. Well, I'm going to move this chase, I'm not sure I'll think about that. Get out of there, but yeah, that definitely needs to be done in the end. Wondering why this wall is locked to anything. I didn't do this wall. But yeah, so that's the sort of thing you want to avoid, those bits of bricks at the top of walls, but even more importantly around openings. And then later when we do the details, which we're going to again start next week, there are things like repeating details. Have you had a look at those at all? Repeating details? Yeah. No, we don't. You know if you've used them. So it's on the annotate tab. Under here, you've got repeating details. So they're great for things like bricks. You can add in those details so that you can see the bricks cut through in section, but you've got to have them the right size, and you've got to make them, your hatch patterns line up with those repeating details. So yeah, so just over the next week you can try to go through and get those hatch patterns set to the right size, and then familiar with the details, it should all line up.